biggest conundrum I have when I'm thinking about this one is how strict I have to be to understand Klingon society. So in some ways, this actually undoes the Klingons, because what I like about the Klingons is I like their sort of how they're portrayed in the courtroom, which is that they're orderly but chaotic at the same time. Like it's a courtroom of yelling and things like that. So they're this warrior culture that believes in a system of ethics, but they're also just sort of crazy at the same time. And the reason that the biologist line strikes me as funny is that I was like, are they pushing the Klingons a little bit too much? Like at what point, I'm totally open to the Klingons having a society that I have not seen, because we're used to seeing their warriors in space who are fighting everything. We're used to seeing the military. But do I care enough about Star Trek representing reality that I'm like, where do the Klingon farmers come from? Like, what are they doing out there? I don't know if I actually care about that really. Like I don't need the world to be totally realistic. And if you push them too hard, they become Cardassians in this direction. If you push them as there's a kind of military takeover of their society, that's the Cardassians to me. And I think that you should keep them a little bit separate from each other.
Yeah, they tend to have, the Klingons have always felt like, even though they were the first or second, second alien race, or the most popular next to the Vulcans.
Yep. After the Romulans too. They were introduced after the Romulans, yeah.
Well, or even the Romulans are just, at least Vulcans were bad, but at least when they were created. But the Klingons have always seemed to be a culture of contradictions, and I don't know if that's due to the way it's built or just the fact that the writers never seem to pin down exactly what they want to do, because they've got the honor thing, and that was kind of what they were just flying by the seat of their pants with the Klingons for a long time. And so I think when you start,
TOS didn't even have that. TOS just had them as they were just generic bad guys.
Right. Yeah, they were just
feisty aliens,
generic brown-skinned villains.
Maybe that's what Enterprise is going towards. They're vaguely militaristic bad guys, and Enterprise says we need more of that stuff. And then it was just TNG that really, and Ron Moore in particular, who developed them into this honor culture that I would say one of the greatest serialized arcs that Star Trek has done is show through TNG and then into DS9 the contradictions of how an honor culture would actually exist in real life.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes them really interesting, is because they do have this, what seems to be a cut and dried way of life, which is bound by honor. But the minute you step into a story involving them, the good ones anyway, show you why that's sort of hypocritical in the way that they actually act.
Yeah.
Like if they're bound by honor and you can just stand up to your commander and kill him and take his post, why do they have judges at all? Why do they have society at all? How does their society work? And then you get into that. How
do they get anything done if it's based on just fighting each other all the time?
Well, teachers and biologists, clearly.
Yeah, right.
I think that's actually the fun of the Klingons, is because they take this super serious honor thing and they always tend to undercut it with a more realistic approach to things, which kind of points the Klingons out as being kind of hypocritical.
Yeah.
But that being said, I do kind of agree with what you're saying. I think may have been last episode, I made a reference to At the Mountains of Madness, the H.P. Lovecraft story.
Yep.
And previously, what I said was one of my favorite parts. Conversely, one of my least favorite parts is that he goes out of his way to pages upon pages, like break down the entire society of these plant alien creatures down to like their farming practices and shit. And I'm just like, I do not care about any of this. I just want to see what the monsters do. I don't need to know about their slave culture. And so I think you can go a little bit too far where it's like, okay, you're getting a little too cute. I think this one rides the line with that, because I do really like, for lack of his other name, Martok's speeches.
Kolos, yeah. His name is Kolos, yeah.
Kolos, I like his speeches a lot. And I like where he comes down at the end as well, where he ends up while also recognizing the hypocrisy of their honor-based culture, he makes a choice based on honor to stay there.
Yeah.
Even though no one's telling him to do that, it's not part of the Klingon way specifically. It's just his own personal honor doesn't allow him to leave.
Yeah. His perception of what Klingon honor should represent to them instead of this kind of attacking everything that moves ideology. Yeah, the Klingons, I think that Ron Moore was onto something. Just the Klingons function best as a vaguely Shakespearean Hamlet type story where there's like this thing that's going on, but the actual story is underneath it, and none of them seem to be aware of what the problem is, the contradiction that's working against them. And that was also helpful when you have to portray that appropriately. You kind of need the Worf character who is outside of it and able to look in at them. And Enterprise doesn't have the benefit of having a Worf character in it, so they have to do it a little bit more, maybe unsubtly here, where he's talking about his biology mother and his teacher father or whatever. I do like it. I'm not anti the Klingons being fleshed out that way, and I think that this is one of the better episodes. This is definitely the best Klingon episode, and I was looking back. There's been like 5 Klingon episodes in Enterprise, which surprised me because they're all terrible.
That's a lot. Yeah,
it's Broken Bow, Unexpected, the one where they get stuck in the gas giant, and I think there's one more. So this is maybe the 5th one, and they haven't done anything with them, and this is the first time that they've actually mixed it up a little bit. They've sort of redone the Undiscovered Country again. But it's nice to have an Enterprise episode that's actually kind of conceptually about something, something that there's a little bit of a point to it beyond the last one we watched was the Space Wisp episode, which is just like such a standard Star Trek episode.